America, you ain't gonna wanna miss this. This is my wife, Kiana.
Mrs. Burns.
Hey, this show is gonna start and it's gonna be exciting. Hey, son, you all right? Hi, baby, how you doing? Mwah.
And the reason I'm going live is because sometimes you gotta reach out and tell people that you need love, you need support, you need care. You just need a hug. You guys, I need that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It really does get sad sometimes when like you see all your friends and stuff like starting families and having kids and you don't have any. But you know what? Get up, wipe those tears, and keep it pushing. Oh!
Do not call me handsome if you ain't gonna hand me some of that, but don't get down.
Between 2021 and 2023, 3 famous couples from 3 different states killed each other while they showed happy lives in TikTok videos, exposing a reality far darker than the one they posted online. In Richland County, South Carolina, 25-year-old Winter Straw was found shot outside her apartment after an argument spiraled into something deadly. In East Hartford, Connecticut, 30-year-old Jessica Edwards disappeared the day after Mother's Day. Her body later recovered deep inside a wooded area off Driver Road after her husband's story began to unravel. And inside a luxury apartment in Sandy Springs, Georgia, Ronald and Kiana Burns were discovered dead, a shattering end for a couple whose TikToks had once painted the picture of unity and success. Just hours before their final moments, each woman appeared to be living life as usual, filming videos, posting updates, or simply moving through their routines. But behind the curated smiles and everyday snapshots, tension was building quietly, dangerously, and completely out of sight. And each story led to the same haunting truth, one the world would only understand when it was too late. These are the tragic lives and deaths of Winter Straw, Jessica Edwards, and Kiana Burns. Let's begin with the story of Winter.
A rising star. If you met her, you loved her. And if you never met her, you wished you had.
Winter Nicole Straw was born on July 30th, 1997, in Columbia, South Carolina. She was a bright, determined young woman whose life seemed to rise in one steady, promising climb. She came from a close-knit family, wrapped in support and the kind of encouragement that shapes a child into someone unstoppable. But what no one knew then was how tragically her path would be cut short. Winter stood out from a young age. She wasn't just talented, she was focused. She excelled in school, thrived in sports, and stepped naturally into leadership roles that made it clear she was meant for something bigger. Her friends described her energy as warm and uplifting. Her mother called her a rising star. And soon, Winter would embody every part of that promise. After graduating from Columbia High School, Winter attended Allen University, earning her Bachelor of Arts degree in social science. She shined on both the volleyball and basketball teams, eventually becoming a key player on the championship-winning women's basketball team, an achievement that filled her school and her family with pride. But Winter's ambition didn't stop there. She later pledged Delta Sigma Theta sorority, quickly becoming known for her leadership and calm, steady spirit. Those qualities carried into her next chapter, and this next chapter would pull her into a demanding but meaningful line of work. After college, Winter began working at the Department of Corrections as a mental health officer. It was challenging work, emotionally heavy, often exhausting, but Winter embraced it with patience and empathy. Her mother shared that Winter was already preparing for law school with dreams of advocating for those who needed a voice. But while she focused on building her future, another part of her life was quietly shifting. Throughout every milestone, one person remained by her side, her longtime boyfriend, 27-year-old Renardo Johnson. They met when Winter was still a teenager, and their connection grew quickly. Online, they appeared inseparable, laughing, dancing, creating TikTok challenges, and showing the kind of chemistry followers adored.
Who was interested first? Who said I love you first? Who's more protective? Who cleans more? Who eats the most? Who spends the most money? Who is most likely to start an argument? Who falls asleep first? Who is more annoying? Who loves the hardest?
All right, put the dick in the bag.
But behind the curated smiles and everyday snapshots, something else was happening. Friends later remembered Winter posting cryptic quotes about heartbreak and trust, though no one thought they were warnings. Meanwhile, her family saw no signs of danger. Winter never acted afraid, never appeared hurt, and Renardo promised her mother he would always protect her. Winter believed him. But as her online presence grew, so did Renardo's jealousy. What started as playful protectiveness soon turned to quiet control. He questioned her messages, checked her phone, criticized her TikToks, accused her of entertaining men in her comments. Winter brushed it off, because TikTok was work. It brought income and built her audience. They even made this TikTok to make fun of the people trying to tell them to break up. But none of this was visible to her family. They saw a couple building a future. They saw stability, routine, and comfort. Winter kept any struggles private. But the tension between them wasn't staying quiet for long. Fans began noticing something about their dynamic, moments where Winter looked uncomfortable and there were interactions on screen that felt off. They even commented that she needed to leave him. Instead of addressing the concerns, Winter and Renardo made a TikTok mocking the idea. They laughed together, brushing off the warnings. But that video would later haunt everyone who watched it. In the days leading up to the tragedy, small hints of the coming tragedy began to appear. Winter posted a TikTok hinting at a breakup. It suggested she was reaching a breaking point. Renardo saw it too, and that's when everything began to unravel. On the evening of March 2023, an argument erupted inside their home. Neighbors later said they heard shouting coming from their apartment, things crashing, voices raised. Some thought it was a simple argument. Others felt something darker was happening. And the others were not wrong, because just hours later their fears were confirmed. At around 6 p.m., Richland County deputies responded to reports of a shooting at their couple's home. When they arrived, they found Winter lying outside a building, unresponsive. She had been shot, and despite efforts to save her, she was pronounced dead at the scene. But the night's horror wasn't over. Inside a nearby apartment, Renardo had barricaded himself inside. Negotiators spent nearly 3 hours pleading with him over the phone. Then Renardo stopped responding. Moments later, a single gunshot echoed from inside. When officers entered, they found him with a gunshot wound. He was rushed to the hospital, but later died. And just like that, 2 young lives ended because of obsession. Winter's family was devastated. Her mother said she had seen no signs of danger, no bruises, no fear, nothing that suggested her daughter was at risk. She felt betrayed, not just by the tragedy, but by the man she once trusted. And her message to the community was heartbreaking.
LaShawn Williams is the mother of Winter Straw and described Straw's murder as a shock and a betrayal. She says she's now turning her energy to taking on domestic violence.
She was a good friend, good sister, great daughter. All around just a good person, a rising star.
LaShawn Williams spoke lovingly of her daughter, Winter Straw, describing her as determined and community-driven. She says the family welcomed the man, and there were never any signs of mistreatment.
We didn't see any signs, no signals. It wasn't like she was coming around us with black eyes or anything like that. So there was none of that.
Making the murder a shock.
It is definitely a betrayal. Because this man looked me in my eyes all the time. And whenever I would talk to him, I'd say, I'm giving you my child, a wholehearted, bubbly personality. And that's how I want to get her back. And he always assured me he would never do anything to hurt my child.
She says Winters has given the family a new purpose.
We want to make it clear, real clear. Domestic violence is not a joke. It's not something that we should take lightly. For those of you that are posting on Facebook and doing all that unnecessary stuff, I don't care what a person does to you. You don't have the right to take her life. You don't have the right to put your hands on nobody.
County officials have not confirmed the name of the suspect, but the sheriff's department did report he died in the hospital overnight from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Williams says that the family will be hosting a vigil this evening for Straw at the Carrington Place at Wildwood apartment homes at 6:30. Reporting in Richland County, Chris Joseph, WIS News 10.
She begged others to take domestic violence seriously, reminding them that control doesn't always show up as bruises and obsession doesn't always look violent until it's too late. Her sorority sisters, friends, and co-workers mourned deeply.
She was just a beautiful spirit that, didn't deserve nothing.
According to deputies, Straw was shot and killed outside the Carrington Place at Wildwood apartment homes by a man deputies say she had a romantic relationship with. The man killed himself after barricading himself in an apartment for hours. A family and community of friends devastated by her death. Straw's family says she went to Columbia High School and played basketball at Allen University before graduating. She was also a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority and was loved by friends and coaches.
She helped us win our first championship at Allen. On the women's side, first championship they ever won. And she was part of that team, and she was a big part of that team.
She ain't like nobody calling her the baby because she had it, she held it. So,
Straw worked at the Department of Corrections as a mental health officer, and her mother said she was planning to go to law school.
This is a shame that these girls and these babies and these kids, these mothers, we have to grieve because somebody decided they wanted to take God into their hands. It's just too much. It's too much. We got to come together and figure out how do we put an end to this.
A purple bench, the symbol symbolizing domestic violence, was dedicated in her honor. Her father shared that he believed the crime was not sudden but deliberate, and Winter's story became the warning she never got to give. Because for many victims, the danger isn't obvious, the signs aren't visible, the abuse isn't physical, the people closest to them often never see it coming. And Winter wasn't the only woman who learned this too late. Which brings us to Jessica Edwards, a story that would reveal how quickly hope can turn into fear, and how silence can become deadly. Born on January 4, 1991 in Jamaica, Jessica Connie Sue Edwards was the kind of woman people gravitated toward, soft-spoken, intelligent, kind, and effortlessly radiant in a way that made everyone around her feel seen.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it really does get sad sometimes when you see all your friends and stuff starting families and having kids and you don't have any, but you know what? Get up, wipe those tears, and keep it pushing. Oh! These assholes really think I'm playing with them. I don't live 3 minutes away from Town Hall. Get out of here. You write me a ticket at 10:14, I will be down there at 12:36.
Despite being born in Jamaica, she was raised in Connecticut, where she carried a lifelong love for learning and a deep desire to help others. After graduating from East Hartford High School in 2009, she continued her education with quiet determination. She earned her bachelor's degree in English from Eastern Connecticut University, then completed a master's degree in social work at Simmons College in Boston. But even then, Jessica wasn't done building her future. She returned to school again, this time to study respiratory care at Manchester Community College. She was days away from graduating when her life was taken. Jessica was 30 years old, a devoted mother, daughter, sister, and friend whose warmth filled every space she entered. But while Jessica was achieving milestone after milestone, someone else stepped into her life who would eventually destroy it. Somewhere along her journey, she met 22-year-old Taj Hutchinson. The nature of where and how they met remains unclear. But one thing was sure, their relationship moved fast. It wasn't long until they proceeded to marriage, had a baby, and started a new life unfolding in front of them. To the outside world, especially on social media, they seemed like a young couple learning through the chaos of early parenthood. Their social media presence only strengthened that illusion.
What my car need?
Gas.
my car need gas. Boy, don't look at that. Just make everybody know I don't got no money. All right.
Together, they posted lighthearted videos, couple content, and little glimpses into their daily routines, clips that made them look playful, loving, and tightly bonded. But behind the curated moments of everyday snapshots, something far more dangerous was forming. On May 10, 2021, just one day after Mother's Day, Jessica suddenly vanished. Her family reported her missing almost immediately. They knew her. They knew her habits, her routines, her devotion to her baby. Nothing about her disappearance made sense. As hours turned into days, concern turned into dread. Meanwhile, online, Taj presented a very different version of himself. He filled his social media with emotional posts, long, dramatic paragraphs about missing his wife, begging for her return, and describing how their baby struggled without her. To strangers scrolling through their feeds, Taj looked like a devastated husband. But to Jessica's family, something was off, and soon they would learn why.
We're following developing news this morning. The search is expected to continue in South Windsor. Police there are looking for 30-year-old Jessica Edwards. No one has seen her for about a week. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Christian Colon joins us live from the South Windsor Police Department this morning with the latest on the case. Christian.
Hi, good morning, Caitlin. Yeah, yesterday, family, friends, loved ones, and police here in South Windsor spent hours looking for Jessica yesterday and is set to continue today. So far, not many clues, and it just all remains a mystery.
30-year-old Jessica Edwards is missing. Reports say this mom left her home with an unknown person and never returned. Her family and friends were left looking for answers and the hopes of finding their Jessica soon.
It's extremely concerning, and we haven't closed our doors to any possibility at this point.
Police say they are not ruling out any possible scenarios, but they are in need of tips. Recently, they visited some apartment buildings on Manchester Street after a streaming device was pinged there. Another recent search place was Riverside Park.
As a mom, it's very, very hard. I can definitely feel the energy, the stress. I just want the community to come out.
What's really holding me up, I guess, is the hope that I'll find my sister.
And that search is set to continue this morning, and anyone with information is told to call police. We're live in South Windsor this morning. Christian Colon, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Detectives began breaking down Jessica's final hours, and patterns surfaced quickly, and they soon found the truth. The night before Mother's Day, Jessica and Taj argued over guinea pigs he had bought her. The issue seemed small, but the tension beneath it was not. By morning, that simmering conflict exploded. During the fight, Taj shoved Jessica hard enough to make her ear bleed. The argument continued into the next day. At one point, Jessica fought back, swinging a laptop, grabbing a kitchen knife, doing everything she could to protect herself. But Taj overpowered her. He pinned her to the floor, pressing down on her neck and back with crushing force. She struggled to breathe. Moments later, she stopped moving. And in that instant, everything changed. Jessica died on the floor of their home while their 7-month-old baby was still inside. Instead of calling for help, Taj left her body where it was for hours. Later, he wrapped her in a blanket, placed her in the trunk of his Jeep, and drove to a remote woodland area in East Hartford. His GPS eventually led him down a secluded path. There, he dragged Jessica's body into the woods and left her. But there was one thing he didn't expect: Jessica's family refusing to stop searching. When Jessica's sister went to the couple's home looking for any sign of her, Taj pretended to know nothing, until she spotted something in the trunk of his Jeep. A blanket that had a shape that looked like a body. She screamed, demanding he open it. Taj panicked, jumped inside, and sped off, leaving her standing in shock. And that horrifying moment brought the entire investigation into sharp focus. Detectives immediately turned their search toward wooded areas, riverbanks, and isolated trails, every place Jessica might have been taken. On May 21st, 2025, 11 days after she disappeared, they found her body in a forested area off Driver Road in East Hartford. Jessica's family now knew the truth they feared. and the grieving husband online could no longer hide behind his performance. Taj was first charged with manslaughter, but the deeper investigators dug, the more the truth became undeniable. Jessica's death was not an accident. She had been trying to leave him, evidenced by divorce papers she filled out but never filed. Taj continued posting online and living his life normally for days after killing her, even as the community searched desperately for her. And piece by piece, the entire facade he created collapsed.
We're learning some new information this morning about how investigators were able to find the body of missing South Windsor mother Jessica Edwards, who had been missing for almost 2 weeks.
So this morning, 22-year-old Taj Hutchinson, her husband, is in jail after police say he confessed to killing his wife. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Aya Galil has been digging deeper into the arrest warrant. She's live at South Windsor Police Headquarters with how police were able to find Jessica's body.
Good morning, Wendell and Nicole. Yeah, and ultimately it was cell phone data from Taj Hutchinson's phone that led police to a wooded area in East Hartford where Jessica Edwards' body was found. Now, we also know that in several interviews with police, there were inconsistencies in Taj Hutchinson's accounts of what had happened leading up to the disappearance of Jessica Edwards. But ultimately, after her body was found, he confessed to killing her. This morning, we're learning new details about the moments that led up to the death of Jessica Edwards. According to an arrest warrant, the 30-year-old got into an argument with her husband over guinea pigs he'd gotten her for Mother's Day. That argument quickly turned physical. Taj Hutchinson told police that Edwards hit him in the head with a laptop and grabbed a kitchen knife, which they wrestled over. Hutchinson told investigators he then kneeled on her neck and back until she stopped moving. Police say Hutchinson later put her body in his SUV and then dumped her body in a wooded area in East Hartford. The 22-year-old's cell phone data led investigators to that site.
It takes a lot of manpower to get all this done, so a combination of all the agencies working together is extremely beneficial.
According to the arrest warrant, Hutchinson's phone showed he was at the wooded area near Labor Park in East Hartford just before he reported his wife missing to police. And the medical examiner's report shows that Jessica Edwards from compression to the neck and torso. Her death has been ruled a homicide now. As for Taj Hutchinson, he's being held on a $1.5 million bond. He's faced with a manslaughter in the first-degree charge. It is up to the state's attorney's office to decide if more charges will be added. Reporting live this morning in South Windsor, Aya Galil, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Jessica had not walked away. She had not vanished. She had been murdered. Months later, prosecutors upgraded the charge to murder. In November 2024, Taj Hutchinson was sentenced to 27 years in prison. For some, the sentence felt like justice. For others, painfully small. Jessica was not just a wife or a student. She was a brilliant, loving woman with an entire future ahead of her. And the consequences of that day were devastating. Her baby lost both parents, her mother to violence, her father to prison. Jessica's mother later said no family should ever endure what hers went through. No parent should comb through the woods searching for their child. No community should lose another life to domestic violence.
Robbing Jaden the chance of ever meeting his amazing, caring, and loving mother. We want the court to understand that this is a diabolical act done in the presence of Jaden, who no doubt stared helplessly as the executed his plan with ease.
You did not care about anyone but yourself. You wanted everyone to believe this was an accident, but you picked Mother's Day on purpose. And you planned this out in a way you thought that perfect for you to get away. Jessica was loved, and even though you didn't love her, we did.
And Jessica's story, much like Winter's, revealed the same devastating pattern. But as heartbreaking as these cases were, one couple's tragedy unfolded in plain sight while they continued posting online as if nothing was wrong. Their lives looked successful, stable, even aspirational, until everything snapped in a single night. And the story of Kayana and Ronald Burns would expose just how fragile even the most picture-perfect relationships can be beneath the surface.
Hi, I'm Ronell Burns, and this is my lovely wife, Kiana Burns.
Hi.
Today we're going to talk to you about entrepreneurship and how it greatly benefited our life.
For those that don't know, my husband and myself, we've been entrepreneurs for the last 20 years.
Born on the year 1997, Kiana Burns was known for her confidence, her warmth, and her unshakable faith. She was raised in St. Louis, Missouri, and as she grew up, Kiana became a woman who loved deeply, worked tirelessly, and carried herself with the grace of someone who understood struggle, but refused to be defined by it. The people who knew Kiana described her as someone nurturing, inspiring, and the quiet strength that held every room together. The kind of woman whose presence made people feel supported, motivated, and grounded. But behind that strength was a woman quietly holding an entire world together. She married the 46-year-old Ronell Burns, a man who shared her passion for entrepreneurship and ministry. Together, they became the couple people looked up to, two partners who preached success, faith, marriage, and financial freedom as if they were living proof of what God could do in a unified home. Their TikTok amplified that image even further. Their videos showed positivity, encouragement, discipline, and the kind of upbeat motivation that made followers believe they were watching a blueprint for success.
Because I told everybody that I was going to give them the beginning, the end, and in between. And I ain't going to cut y'all short. I'm going to let y'all have it. So, crazy enough, when I was a young girl, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Because we focus and we know why God put us on this earth, and it's to make an impact on people's lives.
But every brand has a backstage, and theirs was no exception. For more than 20 years, Kiana and Ronald built everything together. They founded Critique Designs Beauty and Barber Salon, a business that helped barbers, stylists, and creatives build their careers. They also ran For His Glory Ministries, a faith-based motivational platform focused on encouraging people to chase entrepreneurship. Their message was simple: build wealth, build purpose, and stop relying on someone else's schedule. Followers admired them, clients trusted them, and their online presence made them look unstoppable. But real marriages don't always match the image presented to the world. When the couple decided to move from St. Louis to Atlanta, it was supposed to be a fresh start, a bigger city, a bigger market, a chance to expand their platform. But uprooting an entire family comes with more pressure than most people realize. Building new connections meant starting from scratch, navigating unfamiliar environments, and shouldering the full weight of financial and emotional transition. And behind closed doors, that pressure was growing heavier by the day. Just weeks before the tragedy, Kiana went live on Facebook. The live stream was short, barely a minute or two, but the tone was unmistakably different. Gone was her signature bright smile. Gone was the polished, motivational edge her followers were used to. She sounded tired, overwhelmed, and she talked about how difficult their transition had been, how not everything about Atlanta felt easy. And then she said something that would haunt viewers afterwards. She said that if you don't stay prayed up, things can swivel in and take you out. At the time, everyone assumed she meant business challenges. Entrepreneurship is hard. Moving a family is harder. Starting over is hardest of all. But looking back, those words felt less like a lesson, more like a warning. And it would soon be the last warning anyone ever heard. Because the heartbreaking truth is that Kiana and Ronald truly tried to keep their family intact.
And the reason I'm going live is because sometimes you gotta reach out and tell people that you need love, you need support, you need care, you just need a hug. And honestly, you guys, I need that.
About 6 months before the tragic incident, Ronald revealed that he and Kiana had seriously discussed divorce. They were tired, emotionally drained, and weighed down by arguments that kept resurfacing. Sitting together in a truck, they planned out how life would look if they separated, who would get which business, how to divide assets, how to co-parent, how to stay civil. They didn't want chaos. They didn't want to damage their brand or their family. And after laying out their separate futures, they chose to stay together. Ronald said their hearts softened. They prayed. They remembered their vows. They believed they could fix it. But staying didn't erase the cracks. It only held them in place.
And as we sat in the truck and we said, hey, you know what, if we're going to get a divorce, let's be civil. You know, we got kids, we got businesses. We said, well, let's just sit down and just talk about how this all going to work out. Meaning from a business aspect. We didn't talk about why we should stay together. You know, we love each other. None of that conversation was being had. We was done with each other. And so all we talked about, we said, okay, well, listen. We done with each other. We both came to that conclusion, but let's not impact everybody's life that's around us because we just decided we don't want to be together no more. Let's not do that. So I said, let's have a conversation. And we took out a piece of paper, we drew a line down the middle of it, and we talked about how the business was going to go, how we was going to divide the business. And she go her way and I go my way, but we didn't want to compromise and jeopardize everybody else's future because we was tripping. Let's not destroy our businesses. Let's not tear each other's name down. Let's not do none of that because there's kids, there's family members, there's moms and everything that we plan on retiring one day. And just because we decided we don't like each other no more, we're going to forfeit all that. We're going to mess up that for everybody. No, we got to figure out a way how we can work together, be divorced, go our separate ways, know at some point we're going to get remarried to somebody else, but keep sustaining what we promised the people that's dependent on us.
Behind their polished content and perfectly curated motivational videos, something fragile was unraveling. Quietly, painfully, and out of sight. And on November 6th, 2021, it finally broke. That night, inside their luxury apartment in Sandy Springs, Georgia, an argument erupted. There were no reports, no history of abuse, and no signs of violence at all. Just a couple, alone, in their private moment, carrying months of pressure no one else knew about. And in that moment, something inside Kiana snapped. In the heat of an argument between the couple, Kiana grabbed a firearm and shot Ronald first. Almost immediately afterwards, she turned the weapon on herself and did the unthinkable. She ended her own life. By the time police arrived, both were dead, and news of the tragic murder stunned everyone who ever followed their journey. Family members were shattered, clients were shocked, followers, people who watched their motivational content, listened to their sermons, and built routines around their advice, couldn't comprehend how a couple who preached strength, faith, and perseverance had ended in such devastating violence. Some believed financial pressure played a role. Others believed cracks in the marriage had been there long before the move to Atlanta, and the transition to Atlanta magnified them. But one truth rose above every theory. No one knew they were drowning until they were gone. Kiana's final live stream took on a chilling meaning. Her tired face, her weary voice, her vulnerable confession that she was overwhelmed, her plea for prayer. Viewers replayed it endlessly after the tragedy, listening more closely, not just to what she said, but to what she couldn't bring herself to say. In the end, their community grieved. Their children were left without parents, and the polished image they built online collapsed, revealing that curated success can never guarantee emotional safety. Winter Straw, Jessica Edwards, and Kiana Burns all lived different lives, in different states, with different dreams, backgrounds, and relationships, but their stories echoed the same haunting pattern, one hidden behind closed doors and crafted social media images. What you see online can mislead. Love isn't always safe, and danger doesn't always leave obvious signs. These three women walked different paths, but their tragedies converge in one truth. Domestic violence can look gentle, quiet, loving, until the moment it turns fatal. And by the time the world sees the danger, it is almost always too late. Their families continue to speak their names, honor their lives, and fight for awareness, hoping that telling their stories might save someone else. Thank you for watching. May their memories push us to look deeper, speak sooner, and protect those who cannot protect themselves. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.